Bricks and Minifigs offering Bryan Mansell, the owner of the, quote, world's largest Star Wars Lego collection, mediation at this point doesn't prove good faith. And in my professional opinion, as a non-lawyer who works in marketing and has dealt with both sides of crisis management and being a company vendor not paid by a company behaving in a manner that requires crisis management at some point, I believe it proves a pattern of bad faith that mediation was offered at this time. Let me explain. Law is not always, but can be quite precise. The tow company is allowed to tow red cars on Mondays, but they tow someone's pink car on a Monday, and that person shows up and says, hey, you weren't allowed to tow my car. It's obviously pink. So the tow company says, we disagree, and if you want to prove your car is pink, sue us. They assume this will go away, and no one will sue them. When someone decides it's too much of a pain in the ass to file a lawsuit and they get local news interested and a bunch of people say, well, they shouldn't have towed that car is obviously pink, the tow company says, all we asked for was documentation that it was pink and we're prepared to offer mediation. Why mediation? Because that is an opportunity for them to, at a very low cost, secure a non-disparagement agreement, secure a non-disclosure agreement, and silence the now loud issue. It's very hard to fight both a loud public issue and argue law on a technicality that we thought the pink car was red. A lot of companies do it. And the problem of doing that legal technicality under the hope issues will go away or never be brought to the public light, is that you lock into patterns of things, statements made, because business as usual continues. So some years ago, I had an issue, or a company I worked for had an issue with a client that signed a 4-month engagement and then allowed us to begin work only to demand we sign an additional adhesion agreement that overwrote terms in the contract that was the product of an arm's length negotiation. They then canceled the contract, despite no legal authority to do so, on the basis that my firm refused to sign the adhesion agreement. Adhesion meaning we couldn't modify it. So, did they have the legal authority to do this? The answer is strictly no. But they could just withhold payment and say, sue us. Eventually, I started writing about it, and it led to some public backlash for the company. So the company came forward and said, we're prepared to offer mediation. All we've ever wanted is documentation. Except they had all of the documentation. It was all in a single email thread where they breached the agreement for a nonsensical reason. When I asked them for a single coherent legal argument or a single fact they disputed in the public narrative, they stopped responding. Because unfortunately for the company, business continued. And that meant the CEO had made statements which were untrue and which he could not admit were untrue to other parties who would have had additional legal claim against the company. Oh, what a tangled web we weave.